Hi everybody. Today I am working on my 1981 CM400, and the problem I'm having is that it's missing on idle. Usually when I start it up, it sounds like it's only firing on one cylinder. So what I've done is I've started it up, and I'm removing. First I removed the left-hand side spark plug, the wire, and then I removed the right one. And what I noticed is that when I removed the right one, the idle did not change. It was still chugging. And if you have ever driven a twin, which is a two-cylinder, you'll notice that it has a certain sound, da 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 da. And then when I've been starting it up, it's only firing on one. And then when it gets warm, it slowly starts to kick in. And I've been thinking that it was a carburation problem because the carburetors are old. It's an 81. So like I said, first I pulled the plugs off while it was running. If you're scared about it getting shocked, you can wear like a glove or something. But if you pull the plug off, the wire off while it's running, and you don't notice any difference in the idle, that's how you know that it's probably getting spark, but the cylinder's not firing for whatever reason. And in this case, I believe it's gas. So we're gonna, I'm gonna show you how to test your spark as the bike's running, and then after that, we're gonna go from there and take apart the carburetor. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do in my troubleshoot is I'm going to make sure this side has spark on it. So what I did was I tied some string to the spark plug, and I've got the spark plug out, and I inserted a screw in there. And you can see my spark looks pretty good there. You can see that it's sparking pretty good. So I'm pretty sure that the spark is good on the right side, and that is not an issue. And I'm thinking that the issue is the carburation, and it's the main jet, because on idle it's mostly doing this, but when I'll show you how when you're revved up to speed, say maybe 4,000 or 5,000 RPM, I don't have the problem with it missing. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to go from here is I'm going to take apart the carburetor and look at the main jet. Then we'll see what that looks like. I got these carbs out, and I've rotated them upside down, and the throttle linkages are still attached. I've just put it on a table here. And sometimes, like in the past, you'll have trouble with these screws here, and to break these loose, it's a good idea just to go ahead and get a hammer, give it a couple of whacks like this, just put that in there secure and give it and that usually will help you break them free. I always have trouble getting these. It's a really old carburetor too, so it doesn't help. So another tip for you is a couple whacks with a hammer. Make sure you got your Phillips tip in there real snug. When you hit it, about 3-4 whacks with a hammer should break them loose. Alright, so all the bolts are loose on the bowl here, and we're going to take the bowl off. And for you first-time carburetor people, what we got here is this one is the slow speed jet. You got the main jet right here, which I've already unscrewed, and you got the float, the carburetor float, and this controls the amount of gas that goes in and out of that fills the level of the float bowl. So these are two little floats, and what I want to do is I'm going to just go and check through everything and make sure. See, this has got a needle right here. That needle. Make sure that that's clean and there's nothing that's gumming up that little inlet right there. Put those in there. And we're going to take out the main jet. And what you want to do is you want to look through that, and you can kind of see here that is pretty clear. There you go. That is clear. And that's what I was suspecting was the problem. Was either this jet. Here's the other side. This one, it's a little, it's not real clean, but it's actually good. And the slow speed jet, which is the smaller one, you can see that one's got pretty clear too. So that was not what I was expecting, but and the overall condition of this bowl looks pretty clean. Sometimes you'll find a lot of gum If you've had bad gas, you'll find a lot of crud in the bottom, but this one actually looks very clean. Last time I took apart this carburetor, I actually took about the other float bowl for the left-hand side, and this time I'm doing the right-hand side. So my recommendation is I don't know what this is. This is like a plug, which I'm not sure. Rubber plug. You go through all your jets, make sure that those are all clean. Maybe put them in some lacquer thinner or something like that to get any varnish off or anything that may be on there, and clean those up. And I'm going to put it back together, and hopefully it will be running better. That's what I'm hoping. Okay, so I already went through and cleaned this needle jet, and I don't see anything in the little side holes or the big hole at all that could be an obstruction. But if you take your main jet out and there is something obstructing that, you can take a needle and put it right in there, a long needle, like a sewing needle or any kind of needle like that, and clean that out. And I'm using paint thinner just to soak it in for a little while. But I don't see anything in there. You can see it's pretty clean. And just to get any residue off there, I did clean it up. And my old school way to do it is I actually just put it in my mouth when it's dry and blow in it like a straw real hard. Just make sure there's not any little grains of sand in there, but it looks pretty clean to me. So I'm gonna put this back together, and I'm hoping that I'll get better results when it's back together. Okay, here's one last tip when you're reassembling. What I did is this is the stock screw, what do they call it? Phillips. I hate these things. They're a pain to get out. You can't get any real good torque on them without stripping them sometimes. So I'm going to replace them with a same size hex head, because you can get a little bit more, a lot more grip on them when taking them in and out. Sometimes you can actually take the bowl off on the motorcycle if you just want to empty the bowl out or check it or whatever. You can actually get a 90-degree Allen head, or Allen wrench in there, and you can crank those out. There's no way you can do that with a Phillips. It's just impossible. So I went down and bought all these. These are metric M4 by 16-inch lengths, and make sure you get the lock washers too, because the originals come with lock washers. So make sure you get the same length and put those in. You'll save yourself a lot of headaches in the future if you have to take these apart again. It's so much easier to get out with these little screws. Alright, so this is the left-hand side carburetor, and I just cleaned all the surfaces off here. My finger looks like something from Dr. Seuss. Here's my finger. All these surfaces where the carburetor bowl mates up, was right on here, was all dirty, because last time I put this together, unfortunately, I put the carburetor all back on, and I realized I didn't tighten up the screws. So I did my best to tighten them up, and it still leaked. So this is a 30-year-old carburetor, and you can look at the gaskets. The gaskets are flattened out, okay? And that's part of the reason why it's not sealing good, is it needs a new gasket. And I'm going to just go ahead and give this one another shot. I cleaned it up really good with some paint thinner. You can use like acetone or something like that, just real lightly, and give this a good cleaning to make sure there's no grease or film on there. Like I said, it needs a new gasket. Usually you have to buy a whole gasket kit, which includes a whole ton of gaskets and stuff. I'm just going to sort of milk this gasket for a little while longer, and I'm going to give it a little bit of extra turning with the... Alright, so I was saying, I'm going to put this... Somebody was crushing ice in there, in an ice machine. So anyway, when I put this back on, I'm going to use these Allen head screws, okay, so I can get a little bit more tension on them. Now, normally they're hand tight, okay? But since this one is leaking, I might give it just a little bit extra turn. But the reason they put Phillips head screws in the first place is so you can only get this hand tight. You're not supposed to get a wrench on it or get a big long Allen wrench and tighten it up really tight. So if you're putting it back together, you know how many problems with it leaking, just give it a little bit of a hand tight turn. I'm using one of these tools like this. Put it back on it, and I'm not going to crank on it. I'm just going to give it a nice firm tightening. And that way you're not stripping anything out, because these carburetors, this Japanese carburetor is aluminum, so you never want to put too much tension on it. Okay. So I almost got the carburetors back in position. You can see the carburetor boot here is always the toughest part, especially if you have an old boot that's kind of stiff. What I got here is it's an old toothbrush, and I'm trying to work this around the back side to open that up to get that in there. This is like the worst part of sticking this on because it's always that back lip that won't get on. And you basically have to muscle it in position, especially like I said, this is an old one. Trying to get that back lip is really tough. Don't use a screwdriver if you can help it, because you'll end up tearing it or putting a hole through it. And there's my glove right there. My glove just came off. But just kind of, like I was going to say, massage it, but trying to manipulate it until you get that boot, which I think that's all the way on. Feels like it's got the back seal on, so there's no. I think you could put soap on this if you wanted to get it a little bit slipperier. It'll slide on easier. Just some soap and water on a spray thing, and just soap that in. But you always want to try to get this end first in, and then this lined up, because it'd be impossible if you bolted this front boot in. If you bolt, see, this is still loose. I didn't clamp anything down or put any screws in there, so leave this loose. Put this on first. Clamp that down, because once you start putting this in, this will try to move on you. And the other one actually popped off. I didn't even know it, even though it was supposed to be clamped on there. So it's another piece of advice for you, getting this back on. And make sure all your screws in the carburetor are all tight before you start bolting this back in, because you'll just really be sorry if you don't, if these aren't on. That's what happened to me last time, is I had some loose screws in here and I was trying to tighten them without having to take the whole thing off, which takes you 45 minutes or so to get all the screws back off, and it's just a pain. So do yourself a favor and do that in that order. So I just got everything reassembled here, and I got my fingers crossed that it's running right, because sometimes it's weird. Even if you don't find a lot of dirt in the carburetor, you can still it's still, maybe when you were taking the carburetor apart, something shook out of there or it loosened up something. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a start. So I can already tell that both cylinders are firing. You can see if I pull out that plug wire, that one cylinder is firing. So I can already tell it's starting better. So I think I fixed the problem. Like I said, even if you don't find a loud cloud of dirt, even if you don't find, something in those jets, sometimes just taking it apart shakes them loose. Like I said, you clean them, clean out that float bowl needle. Just kind of go over the whole carburetor and make sure everything's clean, put it back together. I think part of my problem was when I originally went to go look at this, this boot right here had slipped off. So I think that was screwing up the air mixture, the air-fuel mixture. So it was good that I looked at that and got that fixed. So I hope this helped you out. Subscribe to my channel if you like my video. I hope I helped you guys. Take care, okay? Have a good day.
Please like and subscribe.